Good evening and welcome to our 22nd episode of Conscious Gatherers. Today's date is August the 11th, 2020, and we're missing Terry, so you won't hear the male voice and that wonderful guy who knows how to put things together and explain things so clearly to all of us. But he is at the beach with family, and we wish him to have a wonderful time and enjoy the beach. And so our panel today includes Royse, Donna Anderson, and myself. Well, today's episode comes from the meditation that the panel of the four of us had last Tuesday, and then whatever else comes up. And I'm sure many things will come up with Royse and Donna as I'm sitting here, and I think it's going to be a very exciting show. I will start out with what I received last Tuesday during the meditation, or actually before the meditation. And the words I got were, what paradigm do you want to create? So think about that. What does that mean? What paradigm do you want to create? We have, in many of our episodes, explained that we are the creators and we all create. Many people use the word co-create, but we create together. And each of us create for ourselves, and that we're also part of our larger soul family, or an aspect of ourselves. Does that make sense? Cosmic being, whatever words you want to use. So, anyways, I'm going to just start off with that because we're going to probably go back around to what paradigm do you want to create. So keep that in mind at all times, because then that might change your way of thinking. Because if you're thinking what I term negative thoughts, is that really the paradigm you want to create? You want to stay in that negativity or not? Or is it bringing something up with inside you that you need to look at? But always think about what you are saying, thinking, projecting. So that's that. Okay, one thing I did receive, and we kind of laughed and said, "Oh, we're going to put this on the show," and we thought, "Yep, why not?" And that is, I very clearly heard COVID, internal debilitation. And I remember thinking, well, that's kind of harsh, but so be it. And then I heard what we allow into our bodies. So think about that, about what paradigm do you want to create? What's happening internally within you? Are the fear of the COVID, the fear of this, the fear of that, all the stuff that's going on in the world, is that debilitating to you? If so, you might want to start looking at that a little closer. All right. I'm going to give you a little history of the rise of the Roman Empire. Now, my history is coming from my writings, as I usually do, versus looking this up on the internet or into the old encyclopedias we used to have. I don't think anybody has those anymore. But anyway, I'll get to it. The Rise of the Roman Empire is one of the writings in my second book. And so those of you that have the book, it's writing number 27. So, all right. I'm going to start into what this writing says, and this will then carry into what's happening today. So the rise of the Roman Empire started back in ancient times. There were a series of rulers, and they became the pharaohs. Many of the pharaohs, and the word pharaoh then meant that those that were rulers of large sects of lands, and they were also called kings. So it's just another word for pharaoh, but the writing calls them pharaohs. I know we think of Egypt, of the pharaohs, but anyways, in the writings, basically rulers or kings. Anyway, these pharaohs back in ancient times lived meaningful lives and ruled with the people. instead of for the people. It's interesting. Other pharaohs did not know how to control the people. Obviously, there were many, and they felt it was their duty, because they termed themselves the learned hierarchy, gave the people means to interpret their selfish ways. Think about that. This didn't work. And because people in their so-called selfish ways, and if they rebelled, the rulers also rebelled. So there was bloodshed. The new rulers rose up to help those they considered less fortunate. So it's a whole nother type of thing to look at. Not everybody was on the same wavelength. We talked about everybody has their own pathways. I think that means much the same thing. All right, back to a little history. They moved, the pharaohs, into place their own dynasty, or ruling factions, of which these pharaohs were a part. However, most of the pharaohs were not aware of the control that manipulated their many moves. They felt it was their duty to hold power over the people, making up laws that were not conducive to knowledge and wisdom. Indeed, knowledge begets wisdom, and this was held from the populace. As many of you know, this continues today. This plan is ongoing, and that's what I feel, and I think both Donna and Royse may feel the same way, is what's being shown today, and we're saying, nah, we've been there, done that, we're not going to do this anymore. However, who has been behind these scenarios that have played out on this earth? All of us. Each one of us. Think about that. Why did we do this? Did we want to practice living an experience of being what we termed human? And we forgot? We're pretty clever. We forgot we're God, right? We forgot that we're creators. And now we are returning to that aspect of who we truly are, that we are part of the whole, each one of us. No longer do we really need the advice of what we call the external hierarchy. No longer do we truly need the governance of the external body. No longer do we really need the Pharaoh's laws to protect the selfish ones of power. We're seeing it fall down. However, if you recall, I said this is the rise of the Roman Empire. We're rising up our very own empire that we truly are. The strength, the Roman god and goddesses, that's us male and females, rise up through our very own plan. And we're seeing it now. Your new world is at your fingertips. So create from your hearts. We've said this over and over and over again. But create from your hearts and let your minds enter in with a force that you now may feel is impossible. And last week we talked about our innate abilities, and everything is possible. Everything. Okay, one more thing, and then I'm going to open this up for discussion. We talked about knowledge begets wisdom. So what is wisdom? You ever thought about that? Really, what is wisdom? And here's what I was told. Wisdom is knowing that you are indeed God, creating every moment with a plan emanating from the heart source. Consciously demand your inner essence to release the past and forgive yourself. Despair will never again be a part of you. Let yourself go into your heart and live from that very essence. Your world is changing like the flip of a switch. Turn on your lights, let them shine brightly, and your world will be vastly different than it is today. So how do you want to be in this new world? It is totally up to you. Let go of your perceived past, those transgressions that brought you to this place and time. Know they are your past, and you would not be here if it wasn't for this past. Love it, honor it, then let it go. So that's what I wanted to share today, and I think it says a lot. So what paradigm do you want to create? So either Donna or Royse, do you care to add and have anything to say?
Well, I think go ahead, Royse. Go ahead.
No, I was going to get into something. Go ahead if you have something to say about Bev's.
No, nothing in particular. I mean, I just would echo that basically and affirm that. And again, watching every single thought, word, and everything that we're thinking and creating and manifesting. And it's not easy because of all the news that's coming out. If you listen to news or go on the internet, sometimes, there's a lot of promising things going on too, thank goodness. But I'm always challenged because I like to look behind what's going on, and I get a lot of news that maybe most people don't even get. So I'm constantly just working when I hear things to neutralize any dark codes or any dark things that could happen, just holding that vibe of the 0 point and broadcasting that out, holding it in my heart and broadcasting it out to help neutralize any nefarious plans that are going on and to help create that new reality of the love and the joy and, wonderfulness, beauty, art, music, love. And I think what you might be sharing, Royse, from what I heard, kind of relates to that too. I was just reiterating that to a friend that gets a lot of inside news and he gets so depressed. And I said, well, you can either hang on to that or, just turn it around and we can command and demand it right now that reality is not going to exist. We're here to help change the timelines and, a lot of us came in to help change a lot of these prophecies and things, and we can all do it. We just have to know the power within and the power of our, what we're broadcasting through the universe and take up and do our jobs why we came here. We didn't just come here to listen to the news and get depressed. We came to change it and to be it, to be what, we know is true. So anyway, go ahead, Royse. Take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. I was a few days ago thinking about the future, and I decided to take a look. And so I just let my thoughts go, and what I saw was a dark wave of energy coming through. And whether that was something in the future or whether it was something now, all of a sudden I understood exactly what it was I was seeing. It was low vibrational energy. And my thoughts went to the effects on us personally from such an energy such as that, and what we could do to undo any of those effects. And those effects would be maliciousness, anger, just wanting to lash out, just, like road rage or anything like that. That's a low vibrational energy that causes that sort of thing. And I thought, well, for us personally, we can focus on our center, the center of our being, to see if we are being affected. Any moment of the day, we can look into the center of our being to see if we are being affected or not. If we don't see, feel, or intuit the brilliance that truly is at the center of our being, then something's blocking the view. Something has had an effect on us. And we are the only ones who can remove that block. There isn't any church or any person or anybody outside of yourself that can remove that, but you have to want to. You have to make a conscious choice for it to be gone. Once you make that conscious choice, the rest is easy. You just banish it out of your being, but then you have to shut the door. You don't let it back in. You become very conscious of it. If we could just hold our conscious thoughts on the center of ourselves and keep it there while we're doing everything else, with practice things get easier. We can do this. We can know what is having an effect on us before it ever grabs hold, and we can keep it from affecting us or anything that we do. So therefore, we are more able to create what we want instead of being manipulated by low vibrational energies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love the way that you explain that, and I feel our listeners will definitely resonate to what you're saying. It's really becoming more conscious of what is going on within ourselves.
Yeah. And the heart, like you referred to the heart, and that's so where it is when you get really centered into your heart, and do whatever you can to be in tune with your heart, drop down from the brain, and really open up the heart petals and vibe in with your own heart center and get in that love space and just magnify it. I feel that I've just noticed in my own life, the more I do that and function from the heart, that's where the knowingness really is. The brain works with the heart, but it's all in the heart. The center of God, the center of yourself is in the heart, and that just magically knows everything, creates everything. So it's way beyond a thought process. We talk about watching our thoughts and our words, which is important. But yeah, living in the heart, then you're in tune with the whole universe, and you just know things. So go ahead, Royse. You were going to say something else?
Yeah. That's. It's truly a wonderful thing when you realize that the good stuff lies within.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. But if we leave the door open, we can let unsavory things in, and there's no need for us to do that. We only let those things in when we are not acting consciously.
Right.
What I just remembered, and this is years and years ago when I started meditating, and people would say, go into your heart, blah, 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 all of that, what we're saying today, and we understand what that means now. But 20-some years ago, I didn't really understand that. So do either of you want to explain what that means to you when you go into your heart?
Well, I always wondered about that too, and then actually when I was living in Georgia and going to school, I was brought up very intellectually and academically, and I ended up going to college, to a psychology program in Georgia, this little country town in Georgia where people came from all over the country. It was very progressive, ironically, and the people in Georgia back then knew how to have fun, dancing. They didn't try to be real smart. They'd even, in the regular classes, they would even answer the questions wrong, like it was funny, and I'm like, what? But anyway, they had a whole different way of living, and I'd been meditating and already felt very tuned in, but I realized somehow, like, I started just dropping and being in my heart automatically, and I don't know what did it, except for my desire to be even more tuned in than I was, and I literally dropped down, the focus being like up here before just went down into my heart. And so it's hard. It's probably a different process for everybody, but there is a meditation you can do where you you have a candle flame in your heart, and just see it growing and growing and growing, and then as it expands more, just let it go out into the world and see it lifting up into your third eye area, and everything starts to merge after a while. I think it's mainly your desire. If you want to be a pure person in pure godhood, in pure everything, I think that is really the key, just wanting to be pure and having that as your desire. And there's the great invocation you can look up on the internet. It's a beautiful prayer that helps you evolve and helps your centers open and brings you into the heart. I had met a very wise man who knew how to work on the inner planes, and I asked him how he got to that point of being able to see what's going on and shift things around him on the inner planes, and he said by saying the great invocation prayer. So since this is a short little time we have tonight, you can look it up, the great invocation. So I had also been saying that a lot, and maybe that helped the focus come more into my heart too. But I found the more that I just be in that heart center, like traveling around the country, I know where to turn off, like the right restaurant, the right hotel. I just go with my heart, let my car drive me, and I'll go off on this ramp, and I'll end up at the hotel I want. And, it's just this magical flow just starts happening instead of trying to figure it out in your brain, So It's just a whole different way of living and manifesting and creating constant refinement.
I think a lot of it is letting go of the programming. We've all been programmed in lots of different ways. When we let go of that, then what's natural, and what's natural is light. The light is natural, and that resides everywhere, but truly in the center of what we are, that spark. And to me, the spark goes beyond. It's like a brilliance without light. It's more of a. It's like intuition instead of writing something down. The knowing of something without having to see it. You know that it's brilliant, but the what we would call the visible light, it's brighter than that. It seems to make no sense, but if you think about gamma radiation, that's at the highest end of the spectrum of light, extremely powerful, but we can't see it. It's beyond sight. So to me, the center, the heart, is the heart of the matter. Is the center. Very, very, very powerful.
Thank you. Well, Royse was our special guest on our show, and I'm not sure which episode it was. 16, 15, something like that, maybe.
I think it was 16, I think.
15? Okay, thank you.
I think 16, but I'm not positive.
Okay. You'll see it, and you'll see Royce's books on the website or on the YouTube page. And Royce, thank you, because you explain how to look into that center. And so that helps you get into that center of your being, which is really the heart space. So
it
has gravity, too. We think of the spiritual aspect of things, and we don't think of it in terms of having gravity, but it does. It's a force all into itself. It's when the balance is there, when you truly identify with the center, it is a gravitational point. It draws things to it.
Interesting.
And I think of the void. I'll just speak from personal experience, but once I was taken into the void, which relates to all this, that's why I bring it up, and that was at a point where I was having to get in touch with any anger I had at God or the universe for so-called letting something happen to me. And I decided to really get in touch with it, and it took me into my liver where anger is stored, and then through the rest of my body very quickly cellularly to release anything that I needed to let go of. And then I ended up in what I call the void, because it was like dark. I didn't go through any tunnel of light or anything. Which I've been in the light before. I know what that is, beyond space and everything. It was all lit up. But this was into the void of the darkness, but it was the most incredible peace, and like just out beyond all of this universe, beyond creation, into the center of God, or the center from which everything is created. So it was beyond polarity, beyond all the dualism of this planet, everything. And it was dark. It was like the void, and that changed my whole life. The first experience of light really changed my life in high school, but that one brought in a whole new perspective of where it's like all my cells came back into alignment. I've been very sick for 3 years, and then with some issues perpetrated on me. That's why I was getting angry at God for, like, how could you let this happen to me? I mean, I knew I had to get in touch with that thought. I knew that God didn't do it to me. But so anyway, when I came back into this planet from that experience back into my body, I was aware. I looked at my arms where I had this horrible rash, and I realized I haven't been loving my arms. I've been in resistance to this pain and this rash. So it's like everything got aligned at the 0 point, is what I call it, in my cells. So they came back into a love beyond the resistance and the pain, and that helped the healing start to occur. But it's like you live from that point. Once you experience that, you live from that point, and it's just a whole new different way of what you could call, I don't know, it's just like where the magic happens. You're just living in that center of God. So it's very magical. It's hard to put into words, but it relates to what we're talking about. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful to anybody out there, but I hope you can relate somehow.
Kabbalistically, that darkness, I believe what you're talking about is like the radiant darkness of the limitless light.
Mm-hmm. It all relates,
seems like a contradiction in terms, but once you've had that experience, you understand it.
Yeah, it's like, the unmanifest, where it's the void, where there's so-called nothingness. The Bible talks about it, too. Out of the void comes the word, sound comes first, and then comes light. But, yeah, it's that center from which everything happens. So when you're in that center that we've been referring to all along here, things shift. So we have to remember, or I say have to, but during these times when we get swayed around by this and that, or it's easier, and especially right now, everything's coming to the center and out to the focus to be looked at. It's like all the shadows are coming out from every direction in ourselves and from the world. So to maintain our sanity and centeredness, that's why this discussion is happening, so we can help each other with ideas how to hold that center and be that center.
Thank you. Very interesting conversation. Thank you for your input, because I think that does help a lot of people, and made me go back and think about what I was going through many, many years ago, and I would get mad at something. And I remember one meditation where I saw, I remember a table, and I don't know if I was on the table. I really don't know, and it's when I was really working very closely with Sananda, at least in my visions, okay? And I remember a group of entities around the table, and there was one that looked very like a gray. The gray's a alien type person. And I got mad. I said, "What's he doing here?" And I remember me asking just like that. And Sananda says, "You invited him." And oh boy, did that change me. So I went, oh, and I knew it. And so I was getting mad. And then it's like, whoa. And that really touched me, and obviously I haven't forgotten it. So that's really remembering who we are, and that we actually are the void too, and then we create from that point of nowhere and now here type thing. And this takes us all around and back to, what paradigm do you want to create? So think of that.
What paradigm do we want to create? Because it's us as a whole. All of our combination of creations are what we have here right in front of us and in us.
We do.
So as a whole, we can create a wonderful reality as we choose. And to just
I think we are. I think we are doing that. When you're in the midst of creating something really wonderful, within that creation process is the releasing of that which is not the creation process of what you want. So all of that other stuff bubbles out because there just isn't any room for it. It's being taken up by the new creation. So all of that stuff is bubbling up and bubbling out. We're getting to see it and to say, thank you for having been there, and I'm doing something different now.
To love and embrace it all, truly.
And let it go. Well, wow. Well, obviously things are happening on this planet. I know I've mentioned that numerous times. Both of you talked about that. So it's, you start, at least I do, I start looking at things a lot differently than I used to, because I can see what's going on internally with a lot of people. If they get angry, they're this or that, and sometimes I'll just get very quiet, let them work whatever they want to through their things, versus combating, because that doesn't work. And otherwise they're going to fight back, and they need to defend themselves. All these old programs that are now starting to be shown for what they are. So, all right. We're I think up to about a half an hour or 30 minutes. And do you have anything that you want to add, Royse?
We just said miss you, Terry, and hope you're having a wonderful time, and looking forward to seeing you and talking to you again.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you.
I'm thanking everybody out there for being with us, and look forward to seeing your comments if any of you want to pitch in some ideas on the website there.
Yes. Remember to go to Conscious Gatherers, our YouTube page. There is a place for discussion, and also on each episode you can put your comments down and get a conversation going. And we'd love to hear from you all about some of the experience that you have or what your thoughts are, because it helps us and what we're presenting. So we definitely appreciate you all. We appreciate all the listeners, all those that tune in, all those that share. Truly is a wonderful thing, and we're doing this out of our hearts too, just to share with the world, so we can all remember who and what we truly are. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.